Thank you for joining us here on the Resume Profiler Podcast with Andrea Briscoe, where we make a difference, one career at a time.
Hi guys, it's Andrea, and I am super excited to welcome you to my very first Resume Profiler podcast. As you know, I do have the Second Act podcast that's been around for a couple of years. And what that podcast does is profile solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, and folks that are generally there to inspire you to make a shift or a change in your professional life. What is your second act? But enough about that. You can find that at thesecondactpodcast.com, and you can also find it on iTunes and Spotify. But what's going on here, you might ask? Well, the Resume Profiler is an answer to your questions and inquiries about how do I get my resume together? How do I move forward with my career? What is the what and what do I need to do? So the Resume Profiler is in the same vein towards helping folks, women in particular, who need support and want to take action with resume construction, job search strategies, and general career coaching in 2019 and beyond. So that's why I'm here. And this first segment, I will be talking about providing you with some useful content that will help you move forward in your career. So that is about resumes, right? So I'll answer most common questions about resume construction and give you some tips and tools to speed you along your way. So, hoo-ha, let's get started, shall we? So first off, I want to invite you to download my 8 tips for a rockin' resume and my 8 tips for a LinkedIn profile. I'm going to do another episode about the LinkedIn profile and how important that is. So if you haven't done so, go to the Resume Profiler website and download it from there, or you can get it at the link at the bottom of the page here. So first off, let's jump in. What are the 3 most important things about your resume, just overall in general? 1, it should have some sizzle. If it were real estate, you'd say you wanted to have some curb appeal. But the bottom line there is that you want it to be appealing to the reader. So I'll say that again, appealing to the reader. Because whether it's a headhunter, search executive search person rather, a hiring manager, an HR person, they take between 15 and 30 seconds to read your document over, or maybe even less, maybe 5 to 30 seconds reading your document. So you really want to make it pop. Okay, you want to have a little curb appeal. Not too crazy busy, but just some curb appeal first off. Second, leverages your skills and abilities early and often. Your value proposition, which I'll discuss later in the podcast, goes at the top of the resume and really talks about who you are, what you do, and what sets you apart. Third, strategic construction. You've got a strategy with everything else you do. Here, you've got to really have your personal marketing strategy, because that's what the resume is. It's a personal marketing document. It's about you. It tells your story, but it also tells how you've been able to bring change, fix stuff, move things forward, those sorts of things. So strategic construction, what is your strategy? Your strategy is to get found, to get an interview, and to get the next meeting. And that document needs to do that for you. So you want the reader of the resume to get through to the end of the document. And how many pages is typical? People tell me, they've been in the world of work for 20 years and they've got a 1-page resume. I don't see how, right? So what's typical is 2 to 3 pages, but we'll also get to that a little bit later. Okay, so getting back into the detail of the document, I prefer chronological resumes. And, when it's very busy and you've got graphics in the border and you've got a picture and you've got bullet points and you've got colors, it really becomes overwhelming to the reader. And remember, again, you've got about, 30 seconds in general to capture their attention. And then hopefully they will read more deeply. Okay? You really want to draw in the focus during that 30 seconds of review so that they will find out what sticks out about you and you are able to leverage your skills and abilities. So remember, this is personal marketing collateral. And the confused mind really buys nothing. So you really want the reader to understand. Nor do you want it to be a biography, on and on about someone you don't know. You really want to capture attention through putting out there what is the problem that you've solved. Problem and resolution. That's the way to structure that. Before we get to your professional summary or your value proposition in a little more detail, across the top of your resume, you want to have your name, your contact information, one phone number, please, your email address, and your LinkedIn profile. If you want to put, greater Dallas area, that's fine. But having your street address really takes us back to like 1982, which is not something that you want to do. The same is true of using an AOL email account. So nix those things, please. All right. So after your contact information on the resume comes your professional summary, executive summary, it's also called, or a value proposition. This is about your leadership, not a job description and not jammed with keywords. If you're senior in your career, keywords are really overrated because applicant tracking systems are not the only way that you're going to get in to be interviewed or have a meeting. But I'll talk about value propositions in detail later. So, use some keywords that are real and realistic. But unless you're in your first or second or third job early in your career, using a lot of keywords aren't as important in your resume. You can use some keywords also in your LinkedIn profile, and your LinkedIn profile and your resume should match. Following the summary, you want to put some bulleted accomplishments with metrics. What have you been able to move forward? What have you changed? What is the difference that you've made? And what are some key skills? And when you use headers, make sure that those headers are value-based rather than redundant. Experience, professional experience, those are, of course, what resumes are all about, experience and professional experience. But why not use that space for something that's a little bit more of a detailed descriptor of who you are and adds value? A career of senior leadership in the finance industry. Something that really sets you apart. Each role on your resume should be listed with the name of the company, your title, the dates of employment, how you got the role, were you recruited in, were you promoted, were you handpicked? You want to use action words there. And, again, people ask me, how long should the document be? Well, it's a great question. My best answer is, it depends, but I would say 2 to 3 pages. You can also create a one-page document to use with your network, folks that you know on LinkedIn. And, the only caveat that I have there is in academia. So if you are in academia and you're a professor and you have a CV, that's going to be longer. I recently saw a CV that was 63 pages long. That's too long. 10 pages is a maximum point for readability. And please, no pictures. A photo, in my estimation, is like a fish without a bicycle. It doesn't need it. Not on an American resume. Now, in Europe, folks use pictures, and they also talk about, that they ride bikes with their family and have a dog named Jester. But, that's not really what we do here. If they want to look you up and see what you look like, which is very common, they can go to LinkedIn. So, and please use LinkedIn as a resource every single day. It's super invaluable. Okay, following your positions, you should go back, about 10 to 15 years with your roles and go ahead and add your education, avoiding your graduation dates, any professional or continuing education certifications if appropriate. And again, if you're in the U.S., I would avoid kind of the personal stuff. Having that line that says references available upon request also takes us back to 1982, which you don't want to do. So there you have it. I hope this information has been helpful to you, and I look forward to giving you additional career support on the resumeprofiler.com, here with the Resume Profiler podcast. And please, please, please join me at on Instagram, as of course, and at andreabriscoe.com. So until next time, as always, making a difference one career at a time. Cheers. See you soon.
Thank you for joining us here on the Resume Profiler podcast with Andrea Briscoe. And be sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube.